Morgan here. We are joining you like we typically try to do around 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We come up live on Facebook, but you can also check us out later on the Facebook page. You can always check this out on YouTube. You can even go old school and just listen to it in your earbuds if you like to go that way. Or perhaps you're checking us out on YouTube right now and you can see my smiling face here in my wonderful Boston Celtics hoodie. My Celtics are hot. They probably will come up at some point in this NBA podcast. The NBA show is normally hosted by our guy, my guy, everybody's guy, James Thomas Jimriska, but he is unfortunately on assignment this evening, so he's only pulling single duty. Our second host, Chris King, he's only pulling one duty tonight. He doesn't have to talk with us, he just has to produce the show.
From the heavens. That was for our Street Profit fans out there since we're not doing wrestling.
Nice. I knew you'd be excited about that. We might make Dax talk a couple things of wrestling for us at the end, but I just let the cat out of the bag. We are being joined by a good friend of ours, possibly someone that would be the fourth chair on this NBA show if they had as much time in their schedule to join us weekly as Chris, Jimmy, and I do. But this man is busy. He can't join us all that often, but whenever we get him, we're excited for it. He's our guy. And this is his real name, folks. This isn't a nom de plume. This is his real name. It's Dax Storm.
Well, hello. I'm glad to be. I'm happy to be here. You know, I'm just pretty much the void, pretty much filling in the void for Jimmy. Can't replace him, just fill in the void. So I'll do what I can.
You can't replace a Jimmy Jimriska. You can only hope to do half of what he can do. And I can't do half of what he can do. You guys saw all the trouble it was just to get us to record here this evening. So anybody that's out there watching us, our number one fan, Corey Nance, pretty much the only person who ever watches us. Corey, know how much work I had to do to be able to make this happen tonight. All right, so Daxter, let's start here. You are a partial season ticket holder to the Indiana Pacers, and there was a pretty big traveling show that rolled into old Gamebridge Fieldhouse last night. Tell us a little bit about Lakers v Pacers. Just go wherever you want to, Daxter, and we'll come off of there.
Well, it was obviously it was first time I've seen the Lakers play. So all the fan, everybody was just loud. I mean, heck, it was almost like after the first couple shots, the Lakers made the first couple shots going into the game. It almost felt like a neutral stadium. I'm like, wow, it feels like I'm at a Colts game again. But yeah, it was. But after everything, kind of, then obviously the Pacers. It was just really cool, just all the atmosphere and then yeah, what a crazy finish. I think pretty much everybody saw that, and yeah, it was it was a pretty rowdy crowd, but it was fun, man. LeBron just does what he does. That's LeBron. He's done that to the Pacers more than any other team, so it's the third time he's closed out a game on the Pacers. So good for him.
So do you think the entire game it was kind of 50-50 neutral core, or did the Pacer fans overcome the Lakers at some point?
I think towards the end, pretty much all the Pacers games, it's there's the fans are awesome. We're all there, but it seems like it really starts hitting a notch towards fourth quarter, just kind of like you'd expect about any stadium or whatever. But pressure starts getting put on, the crowd starts getting up. But there was definitely a lot of purple and gold in the stands. That's for sure.
So I saw a map this week that had it broken down by state, and it used the latest NBA 2K game of in that state who or what NBA team has been used the most in NBA 2K. And like 43 states all had Lakers as the most favorite team of that state. Indiana was one of the exceptions. We were loyal to the Pacers. So that I was surprised when you said it was almost like a neutral court at first.
It's
where you were going with that, Chris. Nice research.
Yeah, I like that. That was a nice little quip there. But yeah, a lot of season ticket members, after talking to multiple ushers and the staff there, they were like, oh yeah, a lot of our usual customers sell or season ticket holders, they sell their tickets. And, I was looking for what mine were going for. And I'm like, well, I could, sell these and make some money, but, I really wanted to, see the game. That was obviously the most important thing to me. And, yeah, That
Was that the first time that you had seen LeBron? Did you ever see him come through in a Miami jersey or a Cleveland jersey?
no, I never have, man. And I always watched it on, yelled at him from the couch. So now I got to yell at him from the stand. So, but
How about
yeah, man,
the other superstar in that game? Did you ever catch Luca come through with the Mavericks, or is that your first time seeing him?
that first time seeing Luca too, man. So yeah, it was cool just to see, both the shining stars on the court. I mean, obviously I want it to go the other way, but I appreciate the game enough now where, just seeing them both out there is like it's pretty cool, I mean, but yeah, a lot of a lot of damn
Does
Lake fans in there.
does Luca look slower in real life than he does on camera? Because he looks pretty slow on camera. I wonder what he looks like in real life doing operations.
Yeah, we kind of made some jokes about, he needed a beer break or something, and wanted to go like, oh, he needs to go take a beer break, and maybe come back and shoot a little better or something. Or uh but hey, I mean, yeah, then he would just out of nowhere slowly gather his stuff up and then hit this ridiculous three. It's just like, well, there he is, like or do some silly pass, and uh yeah, man, they're give me I mean, yeah, it's pretty easy to criticize the dude or whatever, but he's good.
So your Pacers have been pretty hot recently. Were you going into that game thinking they were going to beat the Lakers, or did you kind of man, this is a different kind of team rolling in, or did you really think your Pacers had that one because they were hot coming into that game?
Oh, they were hot. Yeah, they didn't play. I don't think they played as best as they could, but yeah, I had a feeling LeBron was going to show up. I mean, honestly, I was like, well, and my buddy and I were watching the game. What the fourth quarter started, and I think he had like 3 points or something like that. And my buddy Ryan's like, "Oh, well, I'm like, no, I'm like, no, there's still plenty of time." It took him to the last point some odd seconds to make the impact, but I don't know. I had hopes, for the Pacers, because I'm like, well, LA has been coming in, kind of playing some up and down basketball, and you'd hope they kind of catch a break, but they're a good team, so I'm surprised they. I was honestly surprised they didn't. Sometimes the game's going in like this. The Pacers will find a way to mess it up, and they about did. Of course they didn't win, so they did mess it up, but you know what I mean. Like it started to get kind of out of hand there for a little bit. They kind of slowly caught back into it, so at least they tried to stay in the game, or came awfully dang close, I should say, but. Yeah.
Let me ask you this then: who's the best team that you've seen roll through the Pacers arena this year? Is it the Pacers, or is it another team that you think is better?
Man, I saw Cleveland play. Cleveland's good. Obviously, we know their record. Yeah, maybe Cleveland probably was one of the better teams that I've seen come through. I'm probably sure there's probably someone else, but the Knicks games, the Knicks games are always fun. A lot of crowd comes out for that one too, and Celtics fans as well. All the Celtics games. I knew you'd get a little, yeah, but all the Celtics fans are always well represented at the Pacers games, and those always are good. Just good ruckus
You
kind of
mean the
game.
winners of 7 straight and 14 of their last 15, the Boston Celtics, Dax? Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, I guess it's the same people. But
Yeah, Chris is
yeah,
rolling his eyes up there. Chris loves it when I start waxing poetic about the Celtics.
Like you said at the beginning, maybe we'd talk about Boston. Like that's a foregone conclusion. You knew we were going to be talking about Boston.
I'm like Bill Simmons that way. Boston's always going to come up when I start talking about the NBA.
At least he's from Boston.
Yeah, but listen, Larry Joe Bird is from Indiana, okay? I'm from Indiana. I grew up watching Larry Joe Bird play for the Celtics on CBS when I was a wee lad, Chris, all right? So if you're going to come at me for saying I can't be a Celtics fan, how in the world are you a Cowboys fan?
Must have been brainwashed.
Okay. So I was brainwashed to be a Celtics fan. All right, I got it. Daxter, let me ask you about this. Tyrese Halliburton, we all know, is kind of the straw that stirs the drink for the Pacers. But who do you think the second most important player for the Pacers is? If this guy's going well, the Pacers are going to be running well. Who is it?
I think the obvious answer is to say, Siakam. I mean, Pascal is awesome, but I would almost say Miles Turner. Like if he can start getting, because he not really known for his rebounding, but if Miles can get 8-10 rebounds a game and hit a couple threes and then still get, I mean, he will impact the game, as far as that. Siakam will I hate to say he's always a given, but he's always going to show up and do something. Halliburton has been on fire here recently. I'm glad that he's kind of recovered from his earlier season stretch, where he was kind of up and down.
When I called him the fake superstar, you mean?
Well, you're not the only person that's called him that. But yeah, I think Miles Turner. I think getting him involved, getting him rolling, gets everybody else rolling too.
Is he a big time fan favorite now? Because it was a bit up and down for him in Indy, right? There were so many times where everybody thought he was going to be traded out of town. People didn't really like him, but like he's one of the most tenured Pacers at this point. Like, is he a big time fan favorite?
Oh yeah, he's a very Indianapolis has really embraced Miles Turner, and it's nice every time Miles speaks, after the games or this or that, he always gives a lot of recognition to the city, and he could tell he's just very grateful to be in the organization, and you can't blame the dude for being kind of unsure about it, because I mean his name he was supposed to have been traded to the Lakers 3-4 years ago, or name the other team that's involved. It seemed like every trade deadline he's involved in something, and for him just to stay positive, shows a lot about his character. And the fans love him. I mean, he's all-time block leader for the club, and longest tenured Pacer, and he's he's still so young too, which is crazy. But yeah, he's definitely they got the Miles Turner's block or whatever. It's a section of the crowd that has pretty much Miles Turner holds auditions for people, and he'll buy your season tickets if you're one of the loudest fans, and you pretty much it's
cool.
Turner's block, and man, he's a solid dude. I never met the dude, but yeah, you can just say he's like a very personal type of guy. You can see, like, all right, I'm glad
he may be getting himself the bag. He may be getting himself the bag in the offseason there, Daxter. He is a free agent, and the Pacers really have nothing left in the middle, right? DeAndre Ayton was a 1-year contract. Isaiah Jackson was hurt. They're probably not bringing back Chris's boy, Thomas Bryant. So they're probably going to have to give the bag to old Miles to bring him back. So, Chris, I'm going to go to you on a question for the Pacers before I come back to Dax. If you were the Pacers, would you want to stay in the 4 seed where they're at right now, or would you be fighting like hell to try to catch up to the Knicks in 3?
No, I think I would want to stay at the. Oh God, you're making me do something I hate, right? Because I want the Pacers to win no matter what. Seed be damned, okay? But if you're asking me if I would rather the Pacers, are you at okay? So the Pacers jump over the Knicks. Everybody below the Pacers stays the same.
I would imagine, yes. So if we'll take it that way, so then that would mean that the Knicks would get the Bucks in the Pacers would get the Bucks in the first round. But here's the reason I think they want to be 4: they get the Celtics in the second round if they're 3. If they're 4, they can get Cleveland in the second round.
I think the Pacers have a better chance against Detroit in a series than Milwaukee right now.
Which would mean you'd rather see them being 4.
I can't.
I'm not the Celtics.
I'm not trying to look past. I don't know.
You should be looking past Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee is
toast. I don't want to ever look past that first series. All right. Let's win that first series, and then I can worry about it, because we don't know if that other team's going to win.
Finals last year. Where's the confidence?
Oh, I have a whole lot of confidence. I'm a fan. I want them to win, but I'm not looking past that first series. Why would you? Why would you jinx your team?
Dax, Chris is scared. I'm coming to you. You want him 4 or 3, Dax?
I don't know. Everybody, this has been like the last couple of days. Been a question I've been hearing too. Is like, who would you rather play? Like, I mean, like Chris makes a good point. You got to get there first. Like, so, but yeah, if you're coming down and saying who would you rather play, the Celtics or the Cavs? I don't know. Like, I almost say the Cavs. Like, Celtics are their game time come into the year. I know you love hearing this, but like, I'm not saying anything about the Cavs, but they just haven't.
Certainly not.
They haven't put that resume out there, and I know that's such a cliche thing to say, but like,
works in the NBA. Yeah, we got history.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I don't want to go against I wish they just both disappear, just somehow magically, because the Cavs. We all knew the Cavs were going to be tough. I don't think we all knew that they would be this tough, but yeah, I don't know. If I had my pick, I'd rather the Pacers, if they can get lined up to go against if they both teams made it that far, I'd rather we don't have very good luck against the Celtics here recently, so let's try that. I guess roll the dice against the Cavs. But the Pacers have 2 more games against the Cavs this year, 1 at home and 1 away. So that'll be kind of a little telltale as well.
Well, you should be asking some people. You need to ask yourself, Rod, do you want to see a team like Atlanta, Orlando, Chicago, or Miami in that first round?
I'm not afraid of any of those teams. Honestly, I'm not afraid of any of those teams. I'll tell you why I was afraid of the Hawks at the beginning of the year, because the Hawks had Jalen Johnson. They don't have Jalen Johnson anymore. All right. So I'm not as worried about the Hawks matchups on the wing with my guys, the Jays, because I always have loved both Jays equally, right? I've never been just a Jason Tatum guy. I love Jaylen Brown just as much as I love Jason Tatum. I've always been equal to how much I love both of the Jays. No, Chris, here's the question I wanted to ask you. Are we all overlooking Detroit? Should we be a little bit more worried about these plucky Pistons who are going to be awfully fired up to be there for the first time in a bunch of years?
Yep. I mean, listen, if a team has gone out and proven, not even just a team, an organization, right? How many times have we seen Detroit do this? Rebuild with a young core, stick with them, and then it pay off, and they end up getting into the finals and possibly win it. We saw it back in like 04, I think it was, and we saw it again, then making it far. So like Detroit does this. This young group of kids plays well. I was on the Cade Cunningham bandwagon for a few years, and I should have stayed on it.
All right, Dax, Chris asked me the question, but I'm going to now ask you the question because I think there's a good chance that maybe you've caught the Hawks, the Magic, the Bulls, and the Heat. Who do you think is going to end up actually in the playoffs out of those 4 teams?
Oh, I'd say the Magic. Paolo's getting healthy again. He's starting to kind of steamroll his way through. I think the Heat are they're kind of lost right now. The Hawks, it seems like they're kind of up and down. The Bulls,
you literally just gave the definition that's in Webster's dictionary for the Hawks, by the way, up and down. That's literally what the Hawks have been since Trae Young has been on that team.
A bird that goes up and down, and a basketball team. But yeah, like the Bulls, it seems like they're kind of stuck as well. Like the only team that I can see that, I guess because they play Orlando's defense is so tough. Like, I mean, even though like they can't have everybody, it seems like their scores don't show up, their defense always shows up. They're always holding teams to low. And if you can do that, like, and then you can get some guys on your team to make shots, then then it's anybody's game. So I could see them sneaking in, and who knows? Like, I know they don't have which one of the Wagner's in right now. He's out, I think, for the year, but still, I mean, yeah. But the other players have been stepping up, playing well, and yeah, was it Gogo Badaze for ex-Pacer? He's been getting some run. He's been looking pretty tough in some times, in different games. So. Yeah.
Love Goga's hair. Love Goga's hair. Love that guy's hair.
There's only 2 of those 4 teams that are actually trying to win games. Let's be honest. Only 2 of those 4 teams are actually trying to win games. It's not Chicago. Well, it's not Chicago, and it's not Miami.
They just put up 146 on the Lakers out in LA. How are they not trying to win?
Oh, that was a fluke, and you know it. That's just a night where everything goes in. Derek, I apologize. Bring it.
Derek, I
apologize. Bring it, Derek.
The Cowboys are going crazy right now. Actually, I don't think Derek listens to us anymore, so he's not even going to hear this. But if he was listening to us still, he would be awfully mad that we were trashing his Bulls. All right, then I have one more question about the East before we move over to the West. Is the most disappointing team in the NBA reside in the Eastern Conference? Of course, I'm talking about the Philadelphia 76ers. Are they the most disappointing team, or would you put somebody else up for that, Dax?
Oh, I'd say you're probably spot on. I mean, if you're talking, I'd say all the way around. I mean, the Mavs are a different story, but we'll just we'll focus on the 76ers. Yeah. They got all those contracts for so long, I mean, whatever. I mean, what do you do with that organization? I don't even know where to start. Yeah. Just because of all the contracts, you can't even get through that to even talk about what you're going to do next, and, yeah, I'd have to say definitely the 76ers for
Joel Embiid has a 5-year extension that hasn't even kicked in yet, Dax. Yeah, and he barely played it all this year. He's already told people he's not going to play back-to-backs for the rest of his career. It's trouble in Philadelphia. Chris, Nick Nurse out in Philadelphia in this offseason, right?
If you do that, I mean, I guess you have to, right? But what does the guy that come in do? He's pretty much hogtied. He can't make any kind of significant moves. he can maybe talk Embiid into retiring. And then, I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're going to come to me as a player and tell me you're not playing back-to-backs for the rest of your career, I don't think I want you on my team.
Yeah, and then also you got to max out Quentin Grimes at this point if you're the Philadelphia 76ers, right? I mean, he certainly seems like the best player on their team at this moment. You got to give Quentin Grimes the bag, don't you?
I don't know. I don't even know if you want to give him the money. I mean, you've got you got so many. I mean, Tyrese Maxey, you'd probably obviously your number one priority, but you got to figure out something to do for. I mean, you can't find somewhere to trade Paul George. I mean, his contract, he's got another 3 years on that.
You want him back in Indy? Reunion, Dax? Want him back in Indy? Reunion?
I'm good, man. But yeah, Embiid, like I don't know, like what David Stern. Adam Silver was talking about, probably get into this later about the player participation policy or whatever they have as far as the tanking, I know teams have been fined here recently about that, but Embiid, that you think they almost fall under something like that, where if a player refuses to not play back-to-backs, well, that you would think that'd have some type of conflict with that policy. I mean, I don't know, who knows with the player union and everything else, but
Reunion's pretty tough, so I'd imagine they'll fight against it a little bit. But Chris, we don't have Jimmy with us this week, so we're doing things a little differently. Am I to understand that you are actually going to take Rod Damnation this week? Are you a little hot about something right now?
I'm hot at the NBA in general. All right, I am, and for no one else to be able to take the blame, David Silver, it's you. All right, it's you. All right,
David Silver is a character on 90210. Adam Silver is the NBA commissioner.
Yeah, I said earlier. Sorry.
Whatever. They're exchangeable as far as I'm concerned. Skinny white guy, right? So who cares? Adam doesn't have hair. But I'm serious, all right? Every day we are seeing so-and-so rest reasons, so-and-so sitting for rest reasons, so-and-so blah, blah, blah. I don't get it. This is why you are seeing more and more ratings drop. And if they don't do something quick, the next media contract after this won't be $76 billion again. It'll be dropping, going the opposite way because these ratings are going down because you have teams actively tanking. We got two teams that have a legitimate shot in the playoffs in the East. I guarantee you they're not trying to win. They would much rather lose. The Bulls have shown that they are just selling their assets this year. They're not trying to keep them or gain more. And you're seeing
Wait a minute. I got to stick up for the Bulls here. Honestly, you think Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan are helping the Bulls turn it around? They kept most of their young guys.
I'm saying those were assets. Those are guys that are playing for a playoff team now.
They didn't just cut them. They got things back. You can disagree with what they got back for them, but they didn't just cut them. They got things back.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, whatever. You will have to tell yourself to make the Bulls look better, but they were selling assets. They were. All right, and
I say they were making smart moves.
Okay. But
they shouldn't have signed those guys in the first place,
but
getting them off their team was a good idea. Listen, I'm not saying you're wrong about your point, and I'll let you continue, but I think you're being a little harsh on the Bulls.
All right, I'm being harsh on a team that's 10 games under 500 that maybe have a playoff
good.
spot.
You didn't hear me tell you they were good. I'm just defending their honor.
I mean, geez. You would have thought I was like crashing down on Red Auerbach himself right there as much as you got hot.
Listen, Red is agreeing with you right now, so continue. He loves
Yes, all right. These teams are tanking. I don't care. We won't talk about the Bulls, the Wizards, the Nets, the Hornets, the Jazz, the Spurs once Victor got hurt. I mean, keep going. We have 4 teams in the NBA with less than 20 wins right now. This is not a product that people want to see. Something has got to change. I'm sick of it. I've been hot about it for years, as you guys can tell, but like this, it's really, really bad this year.
Is it bad this year, Dax, or is it the fact that like we have had this narrative beat into our head for so many years that now we're looking for it? Doesn't it seem to me that guys have always kind of rested and guys kind of always get hurt, and we're just now zeroing in on this because so many more games are on TV and we have so many more times where we're like, oh man, I didn't get a chance to see these guys. When you and I back were watching the NBA on NBC, there was like 4 games on a week. You know what I mean? We didn't have a chance to know that these guys weren't playing.
No, you're right. I mean, unless you check WTTV4 for the Pacers games, or some of your local stations, but yeah, you didn't really pay attention, or unless you read the box scores in the newspaper the next day. Now, how old do we sound here? But yeah, I don't know, like the tanking thing. It's always been there. It seems like they've always one next player or another. It's Cooper Flag this year. It was Wembanyama, and you never know with the lottery. But I don't know. I think
when have the Pacers tanked, Dax? In your lifetime, when have the Pacers tanked?
That's the thing. Like they've only
exactly they haven't.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, they haven't. I'm just saying there are organizations out there that show you how to do it and don't have to tank. And a Pacers organization is exactly that type of an example, right? It blows my mind. And there was a saying, and I can't remember who attributed it to it, but like Kobe Bryant repeated it. Someone told it to him. He's like, every time I go out there and play, that's probably some kid's first time ever seeing me. I need to make that memorable for him, right? That's how these stars, if they want to represent the NBA properly, should be thinking, not worried about resting. Like, go out and do the job. You are getting paid very, very well to take care of yourself to be able to play in these games. All right. Same way, these owners and organizations are charging us enough money to continually try to have a productive and competitive product on the court, and they're not doing it.
Do you think these contracts in the NBA should be non-guaranteed?
I think I don't have a problem with maybe a partially guaranteed, but like a fully guaranteed contract does put a strenuous strain on certain organizations, but those organizations have to be smart enough to realize that. The Pacers have realized that they can't get into situations like that, and so they've avoided it, but they haven't done it by tanking.
So you think that there should be more contracts in the NBA structured the way that Zion Williams's deal is structured down in New Orleans, where you got to hit certain number of games, you got to have certain other things. You think that we should have more performance-based contracts in the NBA?
I think you need to start having, maybe instead of this luxury tax tier system, maybe start having a hard top and hard bottom cap.
Well, I don't understand how that's going to make players play.
I mean, well, you're not going to pigeonhole organizations enough, or have certain organizations willing to go past those things and only get, a certain advantages where then, I just lost my track. I apologize. I get what you're saying. I'm just mad at the whole system right now, Rod.
No, that's okay. Listen,
I'm mad that the NBA is losing viewership. I think it does have a good product, but I think they're shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over again.
Okay, but let me say this. And Chris, I'm not disagreeing with you on any of this. I'm just trying to podcast here and present other angles to this story, right? Ratings for everything are going down. Okay. Ratings for baseball are going down. Ratings for award shows are going down. Ratings for sitcoms are going down. You know what I mean? Like TV events are just, all of the ratings are going down, except for football. I understand you can throw football at me all you want, but I think football sits in its own spot. So I just think that, like, yes, the NBA ratings are going down, but we live in a society where all ratings are going down. So I don't necessarily think that that's something you can just pin on the NBA. But you are right that they need to come up with some way of getting players to want to play, right? It's not enough for us to try to just shame these guys and say, oh, Michael used to play and Kobe used to play. And that's not enough for these guys. These guys have guaranteed contracts. They have millions of dollars off the floor. You know what I mean? Like, they just aren't incentivized to play. And I think that's more of what's going on here, where you are attacking the NBA as a system and teams as a governing body. And I'm not trying to defend any of them, but I think a lot of this rests with the players and not necessarily the teams.
Well, when I put it to you this way: when the players start seeing just the business side, like the ownership does, right? then they're not going to be as incentivized to play or have loyalty to that team, right?
Okay. Do you think there's anything that may add to the players wanting to feel loyal to an organization? Do you think there's anything the NBA could do to help that?
I don't think it's their job. I mean, honestly, like they give them, I mean, it's not their job. Like, shut up and do your job. Like, I don't mean that like in a mean way, but I'm just like, this is what you signed up for. Go do your job. If you don't like it, go do something else. Like,
You're going Don Draper on him here, Dax. I know you don't watch a lot of TV, but Don Draper is famous for in the 3rd season of Mad Men. He's got one of his young copywriters talking to him, right? And she's complaining about, you never tell me that I'm good, or you never pump me up. And he just looks at her and yells, that's what the money's for, right? So that's basically what you're saying here, Dax, right? Is that we're giving you, yeah, all right.
Yeah, these guys are all professionals, right? You know, and these are all, I know they're now, that's another thing too. We're getting a lot of younger guys coming in now. You know, they're coming in, you know, I mean, 18, 19, which has been a thing, but that's the new norm. Like these guys aren't getting mature enough until they're almost out of their rookie contract. So you're dealing with kind of a different age group too. But these guys are all, this is what you're signing up for. You're supposed to be professional, show up, do your job. And I understand the player's point. Like, I think the NBA should just get rid of the back-to-backs. Like that's a lot of the
NBA should be way less games. Like instead of this 82 game madness, we should be down to like 66 or 67 or 72 or something like that. The NBA just needs to chop off games. They need to start later in the year so they get away from football. They need to run later into the summer when there's, you know, the calendar is open for a sporting event. Like the NBA needs to be smart about that. We need less games and we need to get away from football. Chris, I think that will help a little bit of what you are being ailed by this season, right? There's going to be less back-to-back, so guys aren't going to want to be taking time off, and hopefully the ratings will go up.
I don't think you need to shorten the season to get rid of back-to-backs. I think
you just want to make the season longer so it just runs alongside football even more?
No, I think you just let it go into the summer even more. You just talked about making it go into the summer even more. Why not let it go?
I'm talking about July, maybe. You're talking about late August or September.
You're really not adding another month to the season by eliminating back-to-backs.
They tried to eliminate them a few years ago and had to keep them in. Clearly, they've got to have some to be able to hit the 82 game mark.
I think they can adjust their season. I don't know why they decide that they stop in June for whatever reason.
Why do you want them to play 82? This is crazy out of you. Why are you so staunch on 82, you old man?
Now another reason they can't start, you know, you got to think with all the WNBA now, like the Fever, they take over the pretty much the Dome, you know, or the Cambridge Fieldhouse. Now I know they kind of slide the schedule with the Pacers playoffs, but as far as extending it, I think you're going to be getting into conflict of all the WNBA games. You know, that's not every NBA franchise has that to deal with, but yeah.
The women's game is definitely more popular these days, Dax. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that you want to try to stay away from the women's game too, because we're definitely trying to grow that.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, but they can move their games. All right. I'm sorry. In high school, boys played on Friday night. The boys practice at a set time. Then all the JV freshmen and girls teams had to fight over what was left over. All right.
NBA's you girls can go play at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Listen to Chris sounding like an old man. You ladies can go play at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Get out of Cambridge.
There is nothing wrong with a basketball game at Hinkle Fieldhouse.
Certainly not. I apologize to any of our Butler listeners. All right, let's get off of that bad rant, but good job by Chris there to take over Rod Nation for me. And let's go out to the Western Conference, all right? And things out in the Western Conference are absolutely wild and crazy, all right? Let me just read this off here. The Thunder, 60-12. They are going to be your number one seed in the Western Conference without any question, okay? But behind them, Rockets at 2, 47 wins. Nuggets at 3, 46 wins. Lakers at 4, 44 wins. Grizzlies 5, 44 wins. Clippers, Warriors, Timberwolves, all tied at 41 wins. I mean, Dex, those are 6 teams right there that could move 3 spaces up or 3 spaces down before the end of the season. How do you see the West shaking out?
It is tight, man. I mean, yeah, everybody knows that pretty much OKC is running away with it. Houston, yeah, I mean, just real quick going down the line. I mean, like Houston's are looking, I mean, all these teams have got a chance. Only Lakers, I don't know. I don't know. It seemed like the obviously I'm conflicted because the last night, like, well, they beat the Pacers just like that. But I don't know. I saw earlier. I don't know what they're doing against the Bulls tonight. But the Lakers playing it back to back tonight, anyways. But I don't know, like we'll just Memphis, like they're number 5. I don't know about John Morant, like what he's going to do. Like it seems like he's always had one thing or another. Uh, the Clippers are, I don't know, man. The team that I mean, I don't know. I guess the Minnesota is probably my team that could probably maybe do anything here, and they haven't really done anything. I mean, but I think they have all the pieces. They start clicking at the right time. I know they had a heck of a run here recently. I think they can really, you know, they can put some pressure on. I don't know if they're going to climb out, how much they can climb out, but yeah, Houston's going to be tough. Denver's going to be tough. I think those top 3 with OKC, and then I think the Lakers, Memphis, and Clippers. I think that's all a shakeup.
Chris, which of those 41 win teams ends up at 5-6? Or I guess the Grizzlies are kind of locked in at 5. I guess it's who's going to end up at 6.
I think if I was going to place a bet on any 3 of those teams, I would probably bet on Minnesota. Minnesota, then Golden State, and then the Clippers. Clippers, I have the least amount of faith in, I think.
So the fact that Kawhi Leonard's won a championship before and he sort of looks healthy right now, that doesn't do anything for you?
I don't know who this person is. I haven't seen anybody play with that name in at least a decade, it feels like, so I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I watched the Clippers-Nuggets game the other night, and Kawhi looked pretty good to me in the Clippers-Nuggets game the other night. James Harden looked pretty good. I think people are sleeping on the Clippers because the Clippers also have Jeff Van Gundy as an assistant coach. So I know coaching isn't everything in the NBA, but you put Ty Lue and Jeff Van Gundy on the same sideline for a team that has talent like the Clippers do. That's a team I don't want to face in the playoffs. So I'm going to be interested to see if the Clippers end up in that play-in morass, right? Because I'm not scared of the Kings or the Suns, but if the Clippers and the Warriors are down there in the play-in, I mean, the Rockets, Dax, you said the Rockets are looking good, but they're a young team. I don't think they want to see the Clippers or the Warriors at 7 if they're the 2 seed. Do you?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, their experience may vary, in those situations where, you're going to have, with the Clippers, with the caliber of players that they have, and the same thing with the Warriors. I mean, heck, I don't know. Even Phoenix is trying to do something here recently. I mean, but
got smoked by the Celtics last night, though.
Did that well? Yeah, like I said, they're trying. So like, I don't know. You seem to. That's almost a team that I would there for a while. You thought was just going to be like, all right, screw it. We're just going to.
I thought it was 1, 2, 3 Cancun for sure.
Yeah, but who knows? They might sneak in.
All right, so Chris, your Sacramento Kings. Now's your chance to talk about your Kings season. We're literally talking like they might fall out of the playoffs here. What do you think about the Beam?
I'm afraid it might not get lit for the playoffs. I think the only way that we get to that 8 seed is if by some miracle we end up playing the Warriors in the first game and get some revenge on them for last year. I think you can see that happening. And then if they win that first game, depending on where they're at, if they're at 7 or 8, they win that first game against the Warriors, they're in at the 7 seed, right? So I think that's how we get in.
Well, I know that Jonas Valanciunas and Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan probably have bitter memories of that loss in the Kings jersey to the Golden State Warriors. Oh, that's right. They weren't on the Kings when that happened.
Yeah, but they're helping a team get probably further into the playoffs than where they were at on the Bulls.
Again, just shots at the Bulls. Derek, no, if you do listen to this episode, that I tried to frame your Bulls as not the punching bag of the NBA that Chris has turned them into. Daxter, let's go to individual awards here. All right. We could sit here and argue about this playoff stuff, but you have said it a couple of different times, Dax, and we couldn't put it any better ourselves. We got to see how it plays out. That's just how it's going to be for this playoff stuff. Do you think that there's a runaway answer for MVP of the season?
Oh, everybody's already given it to Shea. I mean, yeah, I mean, he's awesome, but I mean, I don't know. You keep hearing rumblings about Nikola Jokic, and I think there's another player that keeps getting, but yeah, like as far as I think it's SGA's. I don't know when any. Yeah, I can't really think of anybody else who has that body of work. With the winning team, the most valuable player on the most winning team. Like that's him. You know.
Did you see that patch Jokic threw last night? Did you guys see that pass Jokic threw
Yeah,
last night to
yeah.
Aaron Gordon? Oh my god, dude. Like I used to come on this podcast and trash Jokic a little bit, and that was literally just because I had a bet for Joel Embiid that year, and I wanted it to pay off because I had Embiid at great odds, and I would have got a couple of $100 out of Embiid beating Jokic that year. But I'm gonna tell you something right now. If you're not gonna give Nikola Jokic the MVP this year just because he already has 3 before, then your MVP vote should be taken away for you. Because if you're telling me that Jokic has deserved to be the MVP of the league 3 out of the last 5 seasons, and this year he's even better than any of those years before, but somehow this year he's not the MVP, I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand, Chris. It can't just be about team success anymore because we gave an MVP to Russell Westbrook a few years back when his team was a friggin' 6 seed. So what are we even talking about with the MVP anymore, Chris?
I've been saying that for years, Rod. I hated this whole it's always the best player on the best team. I hate that, right? And SGA has had a remarkable career defining type year, and his numbers are phenomenal. And he deserves recognition. MVP is not it, though. I'm with you, Rod. Jokic's PER is a full 9 points above uh, SGA's, but his usage rate is lower. He more rebounds, more assists, 3 points less. Sorry, that's only 3 points. I will say what was shocking when I was looking through this, though, Rod, is SGA does get more blocks per game than Jokic. So I guess that's a point for SGA, but you got to give it to Jokic. All right. Phenomenal player. Best year he's ever had. He's the MVP. He is the best player in the league. I'm sorry.
He really is. It's just amazing every night you see this guy. And like Dax, we were talking about how it looks like Luka's lumbering up and down the court. I mean, I think that's really one of the things that it's hard for people to get over with Jokic. He just still doesn't look like a basketball player. He doesn't seem to care. He doesn't look like a basketball player. He doesn't jump high. He doesn't run fast, but yet somehow he's still the best guy in the league.
He makes plays, man.
Dax, you should have seen it a couple years ago when Rod had this Embiid bet. He was all over Jokic for like he's got to be the face of the NBA if he's going to be the MVP. He likes his horses more than the NBA. I mean, he was going off, and it's the exact opposite now. I love it.
Listen, in podcasting, Chris, just listen to what I say now. Don't listen to what I say before. All right. That's the thing with podcasts, right? We always got to have a new one. You always got to churn out new content. Don't worry about what I said in the past. Only listen to me now. All right. Let's go to one other question. All right. And this is a little bit related to the covering of all basketball. All right. And my question is LeBron James right to say that all of NBA media is too negative? Because sure, he said a lot of other things on the Pat McAfee show, and I don't want to get bogged down. And he said, she said, they said, Stephen A. Smith said, I don't want to get bogged down in that. But the overall thesis of what LeBron is saying is that NBA coverage is too negative. And I hope he wasn't listening to this podcast, because while we were talking about the Eastern Conference about the playoff race, then we all of a sudden snarked off into like a 12-minute thing about what's wrong with the NBA. So LeBron, does he or doesn't he have a point, Chris?
I think there is definitely a lot of negative press on the NBA. I think in general, in our society, you see a lot more negative press than positive press, no matter what the subject matter is. But if you want less negative press for your chosen profession in sport, be better or have less things for people to print that's negative about you. I mean, don't have organizations that tank, LeBron. How about that? How about don't take rest days so that the kids who finally get to an NBA game because they have had to save a full year as a family to afford it, then see you play. How about that?
Chris has his stalking horses that he likes to go ahead and go back to all the time, doesn't he, Dexter?
Well,
LeBron, negative NBA media. You think he's got a point, or you think he's going too far?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to judge. You're not in that role. You're not. But I don't know. You think back, before LeBron, you had Kobe. He was the face, and then you had, Jordan, and then you had, Magic Johnson, and all these players are familiar with scandals one way or another. Somebody's going to dig something up on you. I mean, and you have to head up to LeBron. Like, besides the whole decision thing, he's lived a pretty, he's had a pretty squeaky clean career. There's no scandals, there's no womanizing or anything else. He's been a pretty respectable dude, and it just seems like I think that kind of ticks off some media where they're like, well, I'm going to see if I can dig up some stuff and see if I can kind of, light that flame. And then he lets it get to him, and like I said, I'm not in that position. But once again, it kind of comes down to, what would you say about the madmen? This is what we pay you for, like you want to be the face, you want all those contracts, you want all the stuff that comes with it. This is part of it as well. You just gotta take it,
I got to say this
Actually,
too, Rod, before you
go
jump
ahead.
in here, right? Because as much as what I just said, I believe in, if there is a player out there that has earned the right to take rest days when he wants, it's probably a kid who came straight out of high school and has been the face of the NBA for over 20 years, right? I mean, LeBron James has done nothing but, for a long period of time, carry the NBA after Kobe.
He definitely has. He definitely has. But here's the thing, LeBron, I love you and I agree with you that so many people in our current space know that they're going to get clicks from negative headlines and hot takes and TV time from all that stuff. Like, I can't do anything about that. LeBron can't do anything about that. But LeBron, okay, you literally have a crown tattooed on your back. Okay. You literally crown yourself numerous times during an NBA game and call yourself the king. You know what you got to have when you're the king? A thick skin, LeBron. Okay. I'm sorry. I can't imagine what it would be like for me to have to sit idly by while someone talks down my son. I couldn't imagine what it's like. But, LeBron, you put him here, okay? You told everybody that this kid was going to be better than some players in the NBA when he was still in college. You said that, LeBron. Bronny didn't say that. I didn't say that. Stephen A. Smith didn't say that. You said that, LeBron. You made the Lakers draft Bronny. You made the Lakers give him a 4-year guaranteed contract. You did all of that. So if you're going to do that, you need to have a thick skin and understand that you're probably going to catch some criticism on this. So for you to turn around and blame everybody else and fire shots off at people as if they're personally attacking you or your son, you're just flat wrong on this, LeBron. You're flat wrong. I've heard a lot of people talk about Bronny, and nobody has attacked Bronny personally. They have just attacked Bronny as a basketball player. And lots of guys who were the fourth to last pick in the second round have been attacked as not good basketball players. So I'm sorry, LeBron. You have a point about NBA media being too negative, but you're a little too thin-skinned about this Bronny situation with Stephen A. Smith.
Could this be a work, Rod?
Interesting. What to what
Right?
end?
Let's get more attention on the NBA and bump up the ratings before the last playoff push. Could this be a work?
So are we going to have like the Lakers that say they go out in the second round? Because I don't think any of us really think that they're going to contend for the Western Conference Championship or all the way to the NBA Finals. So are we going to then have a little side entertainment for the Western Conference Finals where it's LeBron versus Stephen A. Smith in like a celebrity boxing match? Is that where we're headed?
So you may get mad, but a little bit of woo will be coming out right now. All right. The NBA, I think, has maybe their finger on a few buttons trying to move things a certain way, right? Because I can't for the life of me still understand why the Dallas Mavericks would reach out to the Lakers to make this trade unless there were things being pushed in a certain direction. Maybe it was just the casino owners for the Mavs not knowing what they were doing and pushing that button on their own. But I think the NBA had something to do with it, right? Because, I mean, let's face it, LA is the Lakers, and they're the most profitable franchise in the NBA, and we need them to have another face after LeBron, blah, blah, blah. So maybe this is another work. Maybe LeBron is part of this machine and is trying to get this type of thing. If he comes out and attacks the media, this creates another, you know, cycle of back and forth between essentially him, the NBA, and the media, and it keeps the machine churning along.
No such thing as bad press, is Chris's thought here. Daxter, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. Yeah, I definitely hear the woo coming out there. um, no, I mean, just to go off that a little bit, I mean, yeah, it's like, what are the, what are the chances? Like, the Luka Doncic goes to the Lakers. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I think I'm still in shock about that. Like, how do you do that? Like, whatever, not getting into that. But yeah, like that now that franchise, like we talked about earlier, the most successful, most played in NBA. What is it? NBA Live now? What I don't know.
Whoa,
But
whoa, whoa,
NBA
whoa.
2K.
Celtics.
yeah, NBA
Celtics,
2K.
all right.
Yeah. But like they just like I said, now they have another guy for another 10 years to kind of, to keep that franchise. No downturn or nothing. It's like that's awfully convenient. And yeah, I don't know. Like I keep hearing it was for as far as the news cycle, like this the random things that are coming up. I mean, what now the NBA is they're talking about doing a Euro League now. I don't know if you've heard that. I was kind of talking about that today, wanting to start up a Euro League. So who knows? Like, but yeah, just the press cycle, no, there is no bad news. As long as they're talking about it and your name is coming up, one way or another, you're going to make your ends off of it. But
All right, Chris, now you're not wrong that people should get their antennas up when the Lakers have anything fall upon them that seems great, right? Like the curve of history does seem to bend towards the Los Angeles Lakers, right? I'm not going to deny that. We all remember the Kings. Speaking of your beloved Kings, we all remember the Kings with Vlade Divac and Peja and Chris Webber, and that team pretty much got jobbed by the Lakers in the playoffs, right? I can't do anything with that.
You're bringing back some PTSD. Game 6. And then Kobe comes out and he's like, yeah, but you missed 20 free throws in Game 7. Game 6 is where we got robbed.
You're right. But the only reason I bring this up, Chris, is to say this. All right. You and I have been in a fantasy league now with the Daxter here for quite a few years. All right. And all of us have pretty high level assets on our team. All right. All of us have pulled off trades before. Didn't you reach out to one of the friends in the league and go back and forth with them before you just broadcast to everybody that you were trading this guy? Isn't that how you did it before?
Sometimes it was usually fantasy wise. I look for a guy who has an abundance of what I need.
Right. And Nico Harrison wanted Anthony Davis. Rob Pelinka's his buddy.
Listen, listen. No, because Dallas saved 116 million in this deal. Okay, let's be honest. That's why they
wanted to shank Luka for sure. Listen, Nico and him don't get along. All right, my guy Tim McMahon. Shout out to him on the Hoop Collective with Brian Windhorst and Tim Bontemps. All right, he's got a book coming out just Tuesday of this week, earlier this week. Wonder Boy, all about Luka Doncic. Okay, and he's got a last chapter in the end where he talks all about this. Okay, and Nico and Rob go way back because Nico was Kobe's Nike guy. Rob was Kobe's agent. Okay, so there's simpatico, right? Nico and Luka started butting heads. Nico said, get this guy out of here. So, Chris, the casino owners that you talk about, they play a factor here, but they play a factor because they were naive, right? They didn't know enough about basketball. Their GM called him up and said, I want this guy out of here. And he wanted to shank him in the back. So he wanted to do it so Luka didn't know, so that made him look bad that he got traded away. And he wanted to cost him a bunch of money by trading him away to another team so he couldn't get the Supermax. Pulled all of that off. Also got Anthony Davis, who he wanted. And he just did the deal with his buddy. That's how it went down. Now, am I saying the Mavericks did right? Absolutely, they didn't do right. It's ridiculous to trade Luka Doncic. It's ridiculous to trade Luka Doncic to the Lakers. But I don't think the NBA put its finger on the pulse to make it happen. That's all I'm trying to say.
I think that it's very easy to see a scenario where the owners are like, we need to not pay this guy $335 million. We need to make a different move, figure it out. Before he could even make a call to other suitors, he probably maybe got nudged from the NBA to like reach out to your buddy over in LA. Because I knew they worked together. They got Kobe that $40 million Nike deal to start off. So like I knew that they had that history. I'm just saying it's very, very convenient that happened for the Lakers when Dallas could have got a whole lot more than a aging, hurt Anthony Davis.
Yeah,
Mavericks
they
did
probably
win
could have got
tonight.
Dalton
Mavericks
Connect.
did win. They did beat the Magic by 9 points. Anthony Davis had 15 points and 7 rebounds. So he's playing. So
Hey, listen, the Mavs still trying to get the 10 seed, man. They're not
yeah,
tanking. They absolutely need the playoffs. They're still trying to get the 10 seed. Suns aren't taking. They want it. Kings want it. Timberwolves want it. Nobody's really tanking out in the West other than the Trailblazers, Spurs, Pelicans, and Jazz. And I'm not even sure the Pelicans wanted to tank. They literally just lost all their guys to injury at the beginning of the year. So that's what happened to them. We have gone on a little bit longer than I even thought we would. Daxter has got to get to bed here soon. He is an early riser because he actually gets up and works hard for a living, unlike me. Chris, I know you work hard for a living, but I don't think you have to get up just as early as Dax does. I don't have to get up early because I don't do anything important. I just deliver flowers. I could go all night, but Daxter needs to get to bed. Chris has things he needs to do. Chris, any final words before we wrap up here?
No, go Pacers. Let's start making some ruckus in the East, right, Dax?
that's right. You couldn't have said it better myself.
There we go. Daxter, thank you so much for coming back on the pod, my friend. We will get you back on here because the NBA playoffs are a long and arduous journey, and we're going to need some help talking about them.
It's been a pleasure, both of you guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you to James Thomas Jamriska, as always, for executive producing. If you were watching this on Facebook, make sure you like the Morgan You Know page that you're watching this video on. If you're checking it out on YouTube, making sure you're giving us a follow along there. If you listen to it as a podcast on your favorite podcast platform, 5 stars and a comment, that would do us a lot of favor. It would help other folks be able to listen to this fine, fine program. And until next time, I'm Rod. That's Dax. Chris has the final word.
Goodbye, Jimmy Jam.
Nice. Hell yeah, boys. We got to talking. Almost like us three like talking to one another. We like talking basketball.